I'm trying to bring light into some of these voiceless, empty stories that you don't hear a lot about up here. I'm very suspicious about the media in the U.S. and its blackout on all of these issues until now.
Until now.
Yeah. You want to talk about the essence of good that I've managed to kind of like figure out for myself in the U.S.? If I can see a light in the U.S., it has been places and platforms like yours that allow somebody like me who, dude, I have a, I basically went to high school, you know, and then I did some shit for the government and that left me heavily damaged and traumatized. An effort being made by powers that aren't too clear to me, that are fostering an animosity between both of our countries, a political animosity. There's certain powers that be on both sides of the border that are fostering and fostered for years, and this past administration is a clear sign of that, this wave of migration that has not done a lot of positive things. Yeah. And if anybody says, like, what positivity did that bring? I don't know. Like, people got away from the communities that they were at risk from.
Yes.
Venezuela emptied out prisons.
They emptied out prisons?
Venezuela emptied out prisons and said, yeah, go that way. So that's why we got the Tren de Aragua. And now the Venezuelans are coming out saying that the Tren de Aragua was actually a U.S. operation group of people that they were trying to foster. So it's a shit show. It's a shit show. There are powers that be that are trying to destabilize shit. That's obvious.
Yeah.
And in the middle are kids who want a job and read a classified ad somewhere in Jalisco, fly there or go into or arrive by a bus, then get pulled into a yard somewhere and they get a knife tossed in the middle of them and say, whoever fucking wins this match gets to join us. And somehow that's being funded by people buying avocados at the grocery store in the U.S. Somehow that's being funded by federal programs in parts of the U.S. that are very permissive to the drug uses and creating these giant drug markets in places like Los Angeles and other parts of the country, who are indirectly or directly basically fostering these businesses that these organizations have. Somehow us, in the U.S., trying to be a good person and kind of like, hey, this is just an addict. This is not his fault, Sometimes people are saying like, hey, the borders crossed us. Yeah, but there's a border there now, and people are paying to get across it to a very evil organization that does horrible shit. And once they get across, a lot of them don't achieve the American dream. A lot of them actually get eaten.
That's right.
So there's no way of tracking numbers of the disappeared once they cross the border because they're undocumented. Mm-hmm. So
we can't even track the numbers of people who just come over.
Yeah. So I'm all about people finding a better opportunity for themselves. I'm an immigrant myself. I understand it more than most. I also understand that there's people making a business out of that.
Absolutely.
I also understand that there's people trying to virtue signal through their support of immigrants and the open borders policies and all of these things, and will call me a fucking sellout for speaking against immigration in that way.
You've spoken on, to be clear, to defend you, you've spoken on both sides of that very strongly today. It's interesting to see where you land.
Because I have to be.
You're going to get shit from everyone.
For me, this is who I am.
Yeah.
I raised over $3,000 for the Ryan Terry Foundation, one of the Border Patrol agents that were killed by some of those Fast and Furious guns. I did that because I get it.
Yeah.
And also to get an opportunity to say, I raised money for that man and his family. And also for the ability to say that there are other families in Mexico that have no names, that have no funding, that have nothing behind them, that were killed and murdered by some of these guns that were directly put into Mexico by the authorization of a man named Eric Holder. Eric Holder, who's somewhere out there enjoying his life. And there's a kid in Mexico, a girl that doesn't have an arm because of some of those guns.
It's crazy.
And doesn't have a father and doesn't have a mother. I'm trying to bring light into some of these voiceless, empty stories that you don't hear a lot about out here. I'm very suspicious about the media in the U.S. and its blackout on all of these issues until now.
Until now.
Yeah. You want to talk about the essence of good that I've managed to kind of like figure out for myself in the U.S.? If I can see a light in the U.S., it has been places and platforms like yours that allow somebody like me who, dude, I have I basically went to high school, you know, and then I did some shit for the government and that left me heavily damaged and traumatized. And eventually they got rid of me. And
they got rid of you.
Yeah. That's what they do with everybody that once they're done with you in the government, they get rid of you somehow. For me,
how'd they do that for you?
For me, it was a clear choice between work with us or die, basically. They put me into a room and they said, hey, we're going to work against this cartel only. You want to join us? And I said, no. Because eventually the institution that I work with got to a level of corruption where it just was unsustainable for me to stay.
Did you discuss that? Did you call people out in back rooms and say, I know what the fuck you are?
At that moment when I got that offer, I had no backing left. For a long while, I worked in that office with backing of powerful people, including ex-governors, including people that are in politics, including ex-military members. I have a military recognition by the general that was in charge of all operations in that region. I have him on my podcast. So I had that level of trust. And then all of a sudden I found myself in a room with somebody telling me, like, you're going to work for this cartel. I resigned that same day. Like, it's like...
You worried about getting a bullet in the back of your head when you walk out?
Yeah. That's why I left. That's why I left, and that's why I lived with a Navy SEAL friend of mine for a bit in California while I was figuring out my immigration. The level of... and I'm just one story, man. Like, there's people like me all across Mexico. People that were trained, fostered, brainwashed, built up to be this force, set loose.
Yep.
And then after everything was done, you're like, well, some of the shit you did was probably not good. Some of the people that you were boss were probably bad, so it means you're bad and you're corrupt. All this shit you did over here, yeah, we're not going to do that. We're going to do this stuff over here now because we represent a different political candidate now, so you're the villain now. So it's basically, what do people like me do? Like, what did the people that I work with back then do? Not a lot of them had the opportunities that I had immigration-wise. So a lot of them went to work, you know.
And we talked about it earlier in the really heartbreaking example of your friend, where you told the story about seeing him telling you to get out of here, and then, you know,
he's
10
gone.
minutes later he's gone. And I said to you, like, what choice does someone like that have? This is someone who just disappeared one day when you were 16 because he was tapped on the shoulder by the wrong guy because he lived in the wrong place at the wrong time in the world. Yeah. And it makes you think, it's like, you know, you mentioned the Ukraine-Russia war as well. And I see all kinds of problems there, obviously, with the governments. But who's dying down there?
Yeah.
Is it the fucking guys in the suits or the track suits in fucking back offices or whatever? Is it Putin? No. Yeah, it's a bunch of boys. It's 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old kids dying by the hundreds of thousands because men in suits in back rooms decided that this is the best way for them to solve their little fucking sandbox disagreements together.
Yeah.
And I don't see any difference in the war, and I put that in air quotes, it's direct quotes, it's not air quotes, that's going on in Mexico in this case, where kids are just born into an environment and they're told at some age, hey, you're on Team A and you're on Team B. And by the way, if you got to Team B and Team B happens to be the government, eventually that's going to turn around too and you're going to be playing for Team A.
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy.
This war has eaten many like myself. And I didn't get, like, people like, you're so lucky. If people only knew the amount of issues that I live with because of it. It's a pretty hard life. I mean, a lot of the work that I do, moving around and training people and doing all this is basically a way of me doing therapy, like fucking sustaining myself, just giving myself a purpose. I sent a training cadre to the Ukrainians. A group
Training cadre?
a group of people that I trained and have some training from me to do medical training for the Ukrainians.
When was this?
This is probably
2022?
3 years ago,
Yeah.
around that time. And more so than anything, I just wanted to like listen, like, hey, like what the do they fucking think out there? I got a lot of stories about foreign fighters showing up there. Some Mexican foreign fighters showing up.
Mexican showing up in Ukraine?
Yeah, basically fighting for the Ukrainians because they believed in this defense of this.
Wow.
So there's a bunch of South Americans in there as well, Colombians from all over the place.
Holy shit.
And how quickly the dissolution of what they were doing there started kind of like manifesting the corruption on the front lines as far as equipment, black markets around firearms and shit like that. Just the mismanagement of that war. Yes, the Russians were clearly the aggressors, and like all that was happened. But also, Putin did warn them many times not to put them in NATO and whatever. But the main thing I got from them is just this clear: war and conflict is sold to youth.
Yes.
As this, I don't know, man. Saving Private Ryan. I don't know, like a war like that war is gone. Like there's, if anything, the concept of an enemy. You know, like this Nazi guy, he's an enemy. The Nazis,
Yeah.
that's an enemy. Hitler, screaming, that's an enemy. But now, like, who's the enemy?
Thank you guys for checking out this clip. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe and hit the like button on this video. It is a huge, huge help. And if you'd like to check out this clip's full podcast episode, that link is in the description below or right here. And finally, you can follow me on Instagram and X by using the links in my description below.